You know, how I look at my life and really reflect, you know, this is for me. I'm sure some may relate, and I'm sure some people may disagree. It's fine. That's the beauty of being human beings, is having our own opinions and being able to really dialogue on those opinions, really have our own dialogues, and it starts conversation. But as for myself, you know, I can only speak for me. The platform was created for me and some other things that I will soon reveal in time. But overall, this is for me and my desire that I've shown over the years to just be a vessel and be a light in people's lives that I've come across. And on a positive note, I've always, even when I was in the space of not being able to really learn from my mistakes, I was often put in a situation where I just felt so different, just extremely different. Like it getting to the point of being okay and feeling good about just being rare is not easy to get to that point. It's not easy to get to that point, but finding myself trying to bend, mold, break, and recreate myself to fit in was not fucking happening. It was just that I can't be somebody I'm not. But one thing I've realized for myself, let me clarify, is I try to sit back, and make myself feel better about certain scenarios, situations, things that may have happened, decisions that I have made in my life. And sometimes we have the tendency to make ourselves feel better by finding fault in other people, by finding a reason for our behavior, for our words, for our actions. We find it easy to cater to our behavior and the choices we made, and not paying attention to the red flags and not listening to our intuition, our ancestors, our guides, the Holy Spirit, wisdom, the universe, however you want to phrase it. We find reasons why, explanations why, faults in situations, circumstances, other people, etc., to justify, what we've said, done, acted out, etc. And as I look at myself, I've come in spaces where I've gotten comfortable with trying to find reasons for why things happen. And in some instances, the reasons are valid. And then there's other reasons or instances where I have to really self-reflect and be like, you cannot blame anybody else but yourself. I don't know how often you keep up with my other videos, or if you heard this in another video, but I mentioned that I had to develop the kind of characteristic where I'm gonna call a situation out for what it is. I'm gonna speak truth and see it for what it is and call it out for what it is, not trying to beef myself up or make myself seem like the good guy or the bad guy or whatever. I'm gonna see it for what it is and call it out for what it is. But one thing, when I'm explaining anything that I may explain on this platform, and it will be 1,000% my reality, I said I never will judge a person for being where they are. If I happen to build a connection with a woman or a man, a relationship, and I see that we are not on the same frequency, or I see that there's some immaturity, or I see that there's some backstabbing, or I see some ratchetness out this motherfucker, I am going to choose to make the wisest decision. And they've made their bed, they can lay in it, and cordially have that respectful conversation if it calls for it, to let the individual know that, hey, this ain't working, But I will try my best to not get into a state of judging where they are. If I see psychological differences in a relationship, if I see a pattern of immaturity or things of that nature, I'm looking at myself like, nigga, you can be the same thing. You can do it too. Like, I'm always looking at me as it relates to what I can do. And sometimes I have to catch myself because I can automatically assume that a person is supposed to be a certain way or be, let me not contradict myself. I assume that a 30-year-old should be in the mind state of a 30-year-old, a 40 or 50-year-old should act like one. I mean, not all lazy, old and crunchy, but yet still be mature enough to know how to treat a man. If she's in her 50s and in her 40s, she should know how to respect and treat a man. If he's in his 40s or in his 50s, he should know how to treat a woman. And sometimes when they're younger kids are growing up a lot quicker nowadays. So they're learning how to be mature adults at a very young age. I'm not mad at them. We all have our own stories. But my purpose for this message is to just clarify how I myself have come to a place where I've been able to grow, to learn how to accept people for who they are. It's either we vibrate on a unison, on a frequency that makes sense, whether we're supposed to be together or not, or we don't vibrate. And you don't necessarily, a person doesn't necessarily have to be like on the same frequency, but there does have to be some of the ground, mandatory, non-negotiables that are being presented in a relationship, which is respect. You know what I mean? When you share in secrets that's between you and that person, it's not the world's business. Just the whatever your negotiables are or your non-negotiables are, that I have mine. And when those are broken, then it's like, hey, I can't judge them for being where they are. That's just where they are. They did that shit. They did this shit. They did that shit. That shit was cruddy, very immature, and this. In my mind, I can say that, but I always come to the conclusion of being like, that person is where they are. But they got 1,000% the best of me during that friendship, during that relationship. They got all of me. So I leave a situation or in the situation not having any regrets, because I know that I came in 1,000% authentic. And if there was some bullshit that I was experiencing or some things I needed to express, I would verbalize it. I've realized that exercising the gift of not judging a person for where they are also ties into me reflecting and looking at myself. Every relationship, every trial and tribulation, everything that I have overcome, thank you, everything that I have been everything that I've overcome has brought me to a place of realizing that even though that person was on their own frequency, I can't even be mad, because we all have that guide that loves us, that tells us right from wrong and left from right and up from down. And it's our desire to satisfy our own needs and to suffice our own needs that we don't listen, and we end up in a situation that we get hurt or we regret or whatever the case may be. I can't regret anything. I can't be upset. I can't be mad. I can't be anything, because every choice that has been made that has brought me into a space of realizing that I'm not happy has been a decision that I have consciously or unconsciously made. Either way, it was a choice that I made. It was all a choice. So when I self-reflect and I look at me, and it's not about blaming myself, because it's really about looking at, the disobedience to wisdom and looking at the decisions that were made. I can't be mad at nobody else. I made the choice to be there. I made the choice to try. I made the choice to love. And in the end, despite what the outcome was, whether I was hurt or you learned a lesson, or whether I was happy and still thriving and moving forward. It was all a decision to bring me to this point of being able to share this message with so many of you who value yourselves and your relationships.